If two people are truly destined to be together, there is one particular pattern that never seems to fail. It really does not matter how vastly different their individual lives are, or how unexpected and sudden their first meeting might feel. This single phenomenon always makes its presence known right from the start. Most people harbor the belief that destiny looks soft, gentle, and beautiful from the very moment it begins. They tend to think it arrives as a sense of instant comfort, easy love, and the overwhelming feeling that everything in their life has finally fallen perfectly into place. They imagine two people meeting, sharing a smile, and immediately knowing in their hearts that this is the one. However, real destiny simply does not operate in that manner. True destiny enters your life quite quietly, and then it proceeds to shake the very foundations of your world. It does not bring a sense of peace at the beginning. Instead, it brings significant disruption. When two individuals are genuinely meant to be together, the universe does not rush them into a relationship. Instead, it purposefully creates distance. It pulls them apart, challenges their core beliefs, and forces them to look inward and face themselves. It systematically dismantles the illusions they were living under, often without them even realizing those illusions existed in the first place. And please understand that this is not an act of cruelty. This is an act of deep preparation. If you believe that two people can truly be destined for one another, please hit the like button right now, because before two destined souls can truly come together, they must first be fundamentally changed. If two people are truly meant to be together, there is one specific thing that almost always takes place. Many people believe that destiny looks like a state of instant, unbridled joy. They imagine two people crossing paths, everything instantly aligning, and life suddenly transforming into something simple and smooth. But real destiny does not arrive in such a gentle or predictable way. In reality, genuine destiny usually enters your life by disturbing it first. When two people are truly meant for each other, the universe does not hurry them into the arms of love. Instead, it frequently pulls them in different directions. It breaks down their false beliefs, puts their expectations to the test, and reshapes them as individuals. This pattern tends to repeat itself over and over again, and that is the one thing that always happens. People very often misunderstand what destined love actually is. They assume it should feel comfortable from the very first moment, like a safe harbor where absolutely nothing can ever hurt. But the truth is that destined love rarely begins with a feeling of comfort. It begins with a profound sense of recognition. The very first sign of a deep, meaningful connection is not a feeling of peace. It is the feeling of recognition. You meet someone, and something deep inside of you responds before your mind even has the time to process what is happening. You might not feel calm at all. You might not feel secure in the moment. You may not even feel entirely sure about them. Yet, you feel seen in a way that truly unsettles you. It feels as if they are noticing parts of you that you usually keep hidden, even from yourself. This can be incredibly confusing because most people are conditioned to expect love to feel soothing and reassuring. But destiny often feels quite uncomfortable when it first arrives. Please realize that this discomfort does not mean the person is wrong for you. It usually signifies the exact opposite. It means that they are reflecting parts of you that you have been actively avoiding. They act as a mirror for your fears, your deepest wounds, and your unfinished emotional work. They do not just see the polished version of you that you present to the world. They see the much deeper layers. And naturally, that can feel quite threatening. That is precisely why destined connections often feel intense rather than easy. They bring a heightened level of awareness before they bring any sense of closeness. This is also the primary reason why people who are meant to end up together rarely stay together at the very beginning of their journey. If two people are truly destined to share a future, life almost always separates them early on. This separation is never accidental. It happens for very specific, necessary reasons. It could be that one person is still carrying the weight of old emotional pain. Perhaps one is afraid to truly open up and be vulnerable. It might be that one person does not yet fully understand their own worth. It is possible that one of them loves from a place of fear rather than from a place of completeness. Sometimes both individuals are simply still unfinished. And unfinished people, even when they have the best of intentions, have the capacity to hurt each other very deeply. So, destiny intervenes and creates that necessary distance. It essentially says, not yet. It knows that if these two people were to come together too soon, they would likely damage what could eventually become something profoundly meaningful. The separation, as painful as it may feel at the time, is an essential part of the design. It is not meant as a punishment. It is a form of preparation. When destined people are separated, the resulting pain feels different from the typical experience of heartbreak. It is not just about the sadness, it is about the profound confusion. It feels like losing your sense of direction. You do not just miss the presence of the other person. You feel as if a vital part of yourself is missing. This happens because destined connections are not tied to the ego. They are inherently connected to personal growth. When such a person departs from your life, it forces you to look inward. It pushes you to finally confront the things you have been avoiding for a very long time. Comment the word destined if you have ever felt a connection that simply would not leave your mind. You begin to notice your deep-seated fear of being abandoned. You see clearly how much you seek validation from others. You recognize your persistent habit of giving away too much of yourself just to keep people close to you. You become aware of how you constantly avoid taking responsibility for your own emotional needs. These realizations are certainly uncomfortable, but they are absolutely necessary. The pain you are experiencing is not designed to break you. It is designed to awaken you. Destined love has a unique way of changing you quite quietly. Even when there is no communication, even when there is total silence, something significant shifts inside of you. Even when your logic tells you it is time to move on, even when there is no contact at all, you begin to change. You become more aware of who you are. You become more careful and selective about who you allow into your life. You start being more honest with yourself about your true feelings and your personal boundaries. Things that you once accepted as normal no longer feel right to you. Situations you used to tolerate now feel draining. People you once spent your energy chasing no longer hold the same appeal. You begin to truly desire depth instead of just surface-level attention. You crave a real, authentic connection instead of temporary comfort. Often, you do not even realize that this growth is directly connected to that one specific person. But the change began the very moment they first entered your life. They acted as a powerful trigger. They initiated a profound process deep within you. This kind of connection does not create a state of obsession. It creates a state of reflection. You do not lose yourself by thinking about them every single moment of the day. Instead, you start thinking deeply about your own life, your recurring patterns, and your personal choices. You reflect on exactly who you are and who you are in the process of becoming. You start asking yourself much deeper questions. Why do I love the way I do? Why do I fear being close to someone? Why do I tend to settle for less than I truly deserve? These questions slowly but surely reshape you. Destined connections operate in ways that are not always obvious on the surface. They may disappear from your daily routine, but their impact remains permanently etched in your character. They change the very way you see relationships. They change the way you see yourself. They raise your personal standards not just for other people, but for your own behavior and your level of self-respect. They teach you that love is not merely about two people being together. It is also about becoming a whole, complete person on your own. Over time, you might notice that you are no longer willing to repeat those old, tired cycles. You stop chasing people who are unable to meet you on an emotional level. You stop ignoring the clear warning signs just to feel chosen by someone else. You start to value peace, honesty, and genuine mutual effort. This growth feels completely natural, even though it was originally born from pain. And that is exactly how you know the connection was deeply meaningful. Destined love is not loud. It does not always stay. Sometimes it comes into your life, changes you forever, and then leaves. Sometimes it leaves so that you can finally become the version of yourself that could one day sustain a real, healthy love. Whether that person eventually returns to your life or not is not always the point. The true purpose was the transformation, the awakening, and the redirection toward a much deeper and more conscious way of living and loving. When two people are truly meant for each other, their shared story does not follow a straight, simple line. It moves through distance, confusion, and intense inner work. It forces growth to happen before union can occur. And that pattern, again and again, is the one thing that always happens. You find yourself thinking about them during those moments when you are becoming more aware of your own nature. You think of them during the times when you are changing quietly from the inside out. You think of them during those quiet nights when everything around you feels still and your own thoughts become much louder than the world outside. You think of them during emotional breakthroughs that arrive completely without warning. These are the moments when you suddenly understand something vital about yourself that you did not see before. You are not thinking of them simply because you are lonely. You are not thinking of them because you need their attention or their validation. You think of them because something very deep within you understands that the connection carried significant meaning, and that meaning has not yet fully settled. Your soul recognizes these unfinished lessons. It recognizes that something incredibly important was activated through that specific connection. This is not a sign of weakness. This is not an obsession. This is not the type of attachment that people so often describe. This is integration. It is your inner world trying to find the right place for an experience, trying to absorb what it taught you, and trying to understand how it fundamentally changed you. A destined connection does not simply disappear just because time passes. It stays present in very quiet, subtle ways. It shows up when you experience personal growth. It shows up when you finally heal from old wounds. It shows up when you outgrow the old versions of who you used to be. That is because the connection was never meant to be only about romance. It was always about transformation. Type yes if you want me to reveal the hidden truth about destined love. Many people ask why a connection like this cannot simply be replaced. They try to replace it. They go out and meet someone new. They enter into new relationships. They distract themselves with constant conversations, busy activities, and new routines. They convince themselves that moving on is the same thing as forgetting. Sometimes they even believe they have actually succeeded. Life finally looks normal again. They laugh, they socialize, and they continue to move forward in their daily lives. But beneath the surface, something always feels slightly incomplete. There is a subtle, lingering emptiness that simply does not go away. This is not because the new person they are with is unkind. It is not because the relationship lacks genuine effort. It exists because the new connection just does not awaken the same level of depth. It does not challenge the same essential parts of the soul. A destined connection does not compete with other relationships. It exists on a completely different level. This type of connection is not built on physical attraction alone. It is not about temporary excitement or fleeting chemistry. It is not about basic comfort or a sense of familiarity. It is fundamentally about evolution. It is about becoming more honest with yourself than you have ever been before. It is about being forced to face parts of your own character that you may have ignored for years. Destiny works on both people separately and independently before it ever thinks about bringing them together again. Distance is not a form of punishment. It is a classroom. While the two of you are apart, life is shaping you in very different ways, often through experiences that feel uncomfortable at the time. One person begins to learn about the importance of boundaries. They learn how to say no without feeling a crushing sense of guilt. They learn how to stop giving far more than they ever receive in return. They learn that real love does not require constant self-sacrifice. They learn that choosing themselves is not a selfish act. It is a necessary one. The other person begins to learn the meaning of accountability. They learn that their silence can actually cause real harm. They learn that avoiding their emotions does not actually make those emotions go away. They learn that their actions have consequences, even when their original intentions were unclear or misunderstood. They learn that a true connection requires taking responsibility. One person learns the value of self-respect. They stop accepting uncertainty as if it were proof of love. They stop waiting for a sense of clarity that never seems to arrive. They realize that consistency is what really matters. The other person learns the meaning of emotional courage. They learn how to sit with feelings of discomfort instead of constantly running away from them. They learn how to face their own vulnerability instead of trying to escape it. One person learns how to stop chasing someone who is not ready. They recognize that love simply cannot be forced. They understand that pursuing someone who is not there yet only creates a painful imbalance. The other person learns how to stop running away. They realize that keeping their distance does not actually protect them from the pain of loss. It only serves to delay their necessary growth. Both people are changing throughout this process, but neither one of them can see the full picture yet. This is intentional. If they were able to see everything too soon, their growth would come to a complete halt. The unknown creates the vital space needed for true transformation. Comment the word separated if destiny has ever pulled you apart from someone you felt was the one. Before two destined people can ever reunite, all their illusions must fall away. The universe removes these false beliefs slowly, and often it does so painfully. It removes beliefs like the idea that love should never be hard. It removes beliefs like if someone truly cared, they would always stay no matter what. It removes beliefs like love must be earned through a cycle of suffering. It removes beliefs like another person is meant to come into your life to complete you. These ideas feel comforting at first, but they actually damage real love. They create a sense of unhealthy dependence. They create paralyzing fear. They create expectations that no human being could ever possibly fulfill. So, life eventually strips these ideas away. This stripping process does not happen gently. It happens through long silences, through painful distance, through moments of disappointment, and through the quiet times when you are forced to sit alone with your own thoughts. You finally begin to see yourself clearly. You begin to recognize your own recurring patterns. You begin to understand all the ways you abandoned yourself in the past. You learn that love is not meant to save you from yourself. You learn that another person cannot fill the empty spaces you have not yet healed. You learn that a real connection begins with your own sense of wholeness, not with a feeling of emptiness. Share this if you are currently going through a separation that feels deeply spiritual. There eventually comes a moment when something profound shifts inside you. You stop feeling the desperate need for them. You stop constantly checking for signs that they might come back. You stop waiting for a single message to change the course of your life. You stop hoping that they will return just so you can finally feel complete. And that specific moment is not bitter. It is incredibly peaceful. This is exactly where destiny starts moving forward again. This shift happens not because you tried to force it harder, but because you finally let go of the need for a specific outcome. Real love is not about dependence. It is a choice. When both people can stand firmly on their own, when love becomes a sincere desire instead of a survival tool, true alignment begins. If they return as different people. They return much more aware. They return capable of something far deeper than they were before. And if they do not return, the lesson remains yours to keep. You are no longer the same person who entered that connection. You are stronger, clearer, and much more grounded. You have integrated the things that were meant to be learned. That is the fundamental truth of destined connections. They are not about possessing someone else. They are about your personal transformation. They come into your life not to stay in the same form forever, but to awaken you, to change you, and to guide you toward a much deeper understanding of love, self-respect, and your own inner growth. When people who are truly meant for each other finally come back into each other's lives, something feels quietly different. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not feel like it demands your constant attention. Instead, it feels incredibly steady. Your body relaxes before your mind even understands why. There is much less tension in your thoughts, less fear about what might go wrong, and far less ego trying to prove a point. You are no longer performing for them or protecting yourself in the ways you once did. What shows up instead is pure honesty, the kind that feels natural and completely unforced, the kind that does not need constant explanations or defenses to survive. The connection feels much calmer because both people have already faced their own chaos on their own. It feels deeper because they have both looked inward and seen their own shadows. It feels clearer because those old illusions have already been broken down. It is not perfect, and it never pretends to be perfect, but it is deeply aware. There is a sense of consciousness in how words are chosen, how silence is respected, and how boundaries are honored. There are no games being played, no hidden intentions, and no need to constantly test each other's feelings. There is no confusion about where you stand. There is simply recognition, like meeting a familiar truth again, only this time with much more maturity and strength behind it. And sometimes, even with all of this growth, those people still do not return to each other. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, yet the destiny between them was still real. The connection was not imagined. It was not a mistake. It was not a waste of time. Not all destined connections are meant to last forever. Some are meant to exist only long enough to change you. Some are meant to enter your life, shake your inner world to its core, and then leave once their purpose is complete. Type the word growth if this message is currently awakening something deep inside of you. There are connections that come into your life specifically to break cycles that have been passed down through generations. These are the relationships that expose patterns you learned long before you ever had a choice in the matter. They reveal the areas where love was confused with sacrifice, where attachment was confused with safety, and where silence was confused with peace. These connections force you to see exactly what you have been carrying that was never truly yours to begin with. They bring buried pain to the surface so it can finally be healed instead of being repeated. Other connections come into your life to teach you self-love when you have been neglecting yourself. They mirror back to you exactly how you allow yourself to be treated by others. Through them, you see where you settle for less, where you shrink your personality, and where you abandon your own needs just to keep someone close. They awaken you to the truth that love should never cost you your dignity, your voice, or your sense of self. These lessons are often painful, but they are absolutely necessary. Without them, you might have continued giving way too much and asking for way too little. Some destined people are here to awaken emotional depth within you. They make you feel things you had previously numbed yourself to. They remind you that you are fully capable of deep care, vulnerability, and real connection. Even if they end up leaving, they leave you much more open than you were before. Others are meant to redirect your entire life path. Meeting them changes the choices you make, the standards you set, and the direction you move in. They do not stay because their specific role was never to remain.